Okay, so here's our fourth session on the unit circle where we're going to talk about radians. Hopefully you saw the one before this where we talked about the 4 points and we talked about the conversions, 30 in the pi over 6, 60 degrees in the pi over 3, and 45 in the pi over 4. You want to just have those memorized. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to talk about all the reference angles here as well so you can be able to find them. So let's start with the 30 degrees. 30 degrees is pi over 6. Well, this first one's really easy to find because it's just pi over 6. That's what 30 degrees is, okay? But how about this one right here? So remember, we always go off of the horizontal. So what we did when it was 180 degrees and this was 30 degrees, we just subtracted 30 and this was 150. So all we want to do here is take pi and subtract pi over 6. Well, the best way to do that is to think of pi in terms of the 6 on the bottom. So if I have a 6 on the bottom and I wanted to say pi, I'm going to write 6 pi over 6. It means the same thing as pi. 6 divided by 6 is 1. So now if I take 6 divided by 6, 6 pi over 6, and I take away, because I'm going this way, pi over 6, I'm going to be left with 5 pi over 6. If I go this way, I'm going to add a pi over 6, and I'm going to end up with 7 pi over 6. And the last one I have right here is this one right here. So now I've got to take a pi over 6 away from 2 pi. Okay, well, that's a little hard to do. I need a common denominator. So how do I write 2 pi with a 6 on the bottom? Well, I'm going to write 12 pi. And the reason why I do that is because 12 divided by 6 is my 2. And since I'm going this way, I'm going to subtract it. So this is going to be 11 pi over 6. Sorry, it's a little messy. But those right there would be all of my 30 degrees. So 150 degrees is the same as 5 pi over 6. This would be, what, 210? This would be 7 pi over 6. And this right here would be 330. That would be 11 pi over 6. That would be just your other ways of doing that. And of course, we can do all the math. What is sine of 7 pi over 6? Well, the answer to all of these is the same as sine is 30. They're all 1/2. And then, of course, you need to know that these are positive, these are negative from the first couple unit circle videos that we did. Okay? So there's your pi over 6s. So all we have to do is do the same math with the 4s and the 3s. So now let's do our 60 degrees. Let me erase the board. Okay, so let's go for this. Let's do now our pi's over 3s. Pi over 3 is 60 degrees, so it'll probably look, something like that. It probably could have gone a bit higher, but that's all right. So I'm going to call this one right here just pi over 3. And I'm going to have another one over here, and I'm going to have one that goes down here, and I'm going to have one that goes down here. And remember, we're looking for the angles, or the part of the circle really, that goes next to the 180. So let's talk about this. So now, I'm going to be using with pi's over 3. So how do I make this look like a 3 on the bottom? I just put a 3 pi over this. This is just 3 pi over 3. I subtract 1. This is going to be 2 pi over 3. And if I add 1, that's going to become 4 pi over 3. And this one here, instead of 2 pi, I want to have a 3 on the bottom, but have that be doubled. So what I'm going to do on this one to double that, that's just going to become a 6 pi over 3, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then once we do that, we'll take 6 pi divided by 3. We're going this way. Let's take off another pi over 3. And that would be 5 pi over 3. Now you might notice that with the pi over 3s, 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 1 pi, 2 pi, the 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi. Don't memorize it like that, because then you're going to want to do that with the others, and it's just something that happened kind of coincidentally. Don't do that. Do it the way I did, where you figure out the 3 pi over 3 and 6 pi over 3 and add and subtract. That's going to work way better. Okay, all I have left to do are the pi over 4s, so let me erase it and see what happens. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our pi over 4s. Okay, so obviously we know this one right here is our pi over 4. As we discussed in the other video, we know that because that's between pi over 2 and 0, okay? So now, let's talk about the one right here. Let's talk about the one right here, and let's talk about the one right here, all right? So now, I want to be able to write pi with a 4 on the bottom. Well, the best way to do that is just to call that 4 pi over 4. okay? Because 4 divided by 4 is a 1. So now I'm going to do my adding and subtracting from 4. So if I minus 1, that's going to be 3 pi over 4. And if I add 1, I'm going to have 5 pi over 4, okay? And then if I go over here, this is going to become an 8 pi over 4. Why? Because 8 divided by 4 is 2. I'm just writing it with a 4 on the bottom. And I'm going to take 1 away. And so if I take 1 away, that's going to become 7 pi over 4. Okay? So this whole video was really, it wasn't really about math. It's more about translation. How do I translate 150 degrees if they give me that? Okay, well, I know that that's going to be off to 30. That's 30 degrees away from the 180. Great, that's fine. That's going to be a 30-degree angle, but I want to convert it to radians. Okay, now, just so you know, there is a ratio for us to do that, and I'll show that in another video where you can go degrees to radians, and you can do it that way. But I think if you can think of it this way, right now you have to do some translation in your head, but after you see a bunch of these problems, you're going to start to recognize them. You're just going to see a 5 pi over 4, and your brain's going to just see it in this quadrant, and you're going to be ready to just move forward on it, okay? You'll see that, oh, look, it's the one that's just a little bit above 1, so I know it's going to be in quadrant 3. Oh, that's the one that's really close to 2 pi, so it must be the one right below. And you're going to make these connections. So the ratio is good, the conversion ratio is fine, to convert degrees into ratios, but I want you to start thinking in radians. Okay, so you're not always doing the translation, and you will. Over time, you're going to do it. You're going to have to do some problems. So I'll put some worksheets on, start working on them, and let's start getting your head to start thinking in radians, and your life with your trigonometry is going to be way easier. All right, good job learning all this. Take care.